Welcome to Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart. Tonight, a mysterious call to 911.
Calgary Police, what is the address of your emergency?
Oh, it is E12, Apple Village Court, Northeast.
That call led police to multiple scenes where they uncovered a senseless killing spree.
The arguments and the yelling and stuff like that was definitely something that kept me up at night.
There was a little bit of oil and water, and neither one of them were the right fit for one another.
She was missing for 5 days, and I was just really concerned.
She wasn't answering her text messages, and she just disappeared.
It was a handwritten note about what he had just done.
I've never heard of it. I've never had that.
Yeah, I got tremors in my body, and I almost felt like I wanted to cry.
When I laid down for bed that night, then that was when it all kind of hit, that this was really true.
Here now is Nancy Hixt with Shattered by a Call.
In the summer of 2018, Staff Sergeant Darren Smith was given the arduous task of notifying multiple families their loved ones had been murdered.
I think I take years off my life every time I do it, but it's what you have to do. It never gets any easier. You know that your words are going to destroy them. You can see as you're talking to them, their life is crumbling in front of you, and there's nothing you can't spare them from that pain.
There were parents left without their child, and there were children left orphaned. Entire families shattered. To better understand how this case unfolded, I need to take you to the Northwest Calgary community of Hidden Valley. That's where Al Penny-Legion and his wife, Sean Beauchuck, lived. The couple had been together since the late 90s and had a blended family with 5 kids total. Their youngest son, Jordan, was 17 at that time and still lived at home. Sean had a daughter and a son from a previous relationship, Alexis and Dustin. Al also had 2 kids from a previous relationship, David and Adam.
We were all pretty young, so I was about 2 or 3. David was 4 or 5 at the time. Alexis was the oldest, I think 6, 7, 8, around that age. And Dustin is the exact same age as David. It was kind of hard blending as a family, especially at that age. For me, it was a little bit easier because I was young enough that I didn't really feel like I lost my mom. She just stepped in and was mom from day one. Like, that's what we called her. My dad was like, she's mom. So we just continuously called her mom.
Growing up, I didn't really know or see the difference in the fact that they were my half brothers or full brothers. I didn't know they came from different parents or anything like that until I kind of grew up and heard about it. Knowing that your brother isn't blood, fully or this or that, it's just it doesn't matter at the end of the day because you're all family, so.
The family's patriarch, Al Penny-Legion, was a longtime salesman who loved sports.
So he played hockey I think all the way up till high school and in college, and he actually played in the Ontario Hockey League. And then he got hurt, so he stopped playing hockey, but he always liked the idea of organized sports and building friendships and teammates and learning responsibility through that. So he brought us all up into sports.
I was able to actually start coaching with him in the last 2 or 3 years. So we had a dynamic where I wasn't only learning from him being on the field, but I was also learning his coaching. So it helped me a lot on the field to know a coach's perspective from being a coach and then learning from him being a player.
He cared a lot about his kids and making sure that we all succeeded. And if we ever didn't feel like we were succeeding, he would try everything he could to make us succeed. Seeing his kids happy was top of the list for him, to make sure that his life was fulfilling. Like, he wanted to make sure that there was nothing that we missed out on.
Shawn Boshuk, the family's matriarch, was a nurse. She had a caring and compassionate nature.
Like, if we were at a family barbecue or if somebody hurt herself, everything dropped, and she was there trying to help them. She was a nurse first, a mother first, but like both those things came together after seeing how much she cared about not only making my dad happy, but making sure that it wasn't a single kid that got something more because it was her kids. We're all their kids. So if Dustin got a cell phone or Alexis got a cell phone, we all got a cell phone or an iPod if I was too young to have a phone. She wanted to make sure that we were all happy just like my dad did, but my dad wanted to make us happy by pushing us to do more. My mom wanted to be, consoling at home and make sure that we all felt like we were accepted. So she's a pretty amazing woman.
Across the city, in the southeast community of Applewood, 24-year-old Taylor Toller had just moved into a new apartment.
There's no words that can get across how sweet she really was. If anyone that met her, she was a sweet, sweet girl.
Joanne let us have her for the weekend lots of times, and she'd just become part of our life. She was actually like our daughter. I hated to have to send her home.
In high school, Taylor became friends with Al and Sean's son, Adam Penny-Legion.
And we ended up working on the carnival out in BC for 6 months. We kind of took Taylor with us because she wanted to go do something, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So we were all quite close there, being that we all left Calgary and met 40 new people and randomly started traveling around BC with them to do set up and tear down carnivals and be carnies for 6 months of the summer.
Not long after they returned from BC, Taylor started dating Adam's older brother, Dustin Duffy.
That's where the story gets difficult. We had some behavioral stuff with Taylor.
After the break, both families become increasingly concerned about Taylor's relationship with Dustin, but no one could predict what would happen next. It started as a young romance, but no one realized the horrifying twist that lay ahead. We now return to Nancy Hixt with Shattered by a Call.
Taylor's mom said she had concerns about the relationship with Dustin almost from the get-go.
Because they were engaged when they were quite young. I think in the first year they were engaged. He just seemed like the type of guy I did not want my daughter dating. He came off like a player, actually. It's just not somebody I'd want my daughter dating. Dustin, actually, that's one of the other reasons that I didn't really approve of the relationship. He was working as a male stripper for a while. I know I found some needles, or maybe it was my mom that found some needles. And so we had to talk with Taylor, is he using intravenous drugs? And no, he was using them for steroids. And I remember her calling me once that she needed money because he had taken the money and spent it all on steroids because he needed it to his bodybuilding for the dancing.
Early on in their relationship, in December of 2013, the couple moved in with Taylor's grandparents. Not long after, there was an incident.
We had American money, my husband did, in his dresser drawer, and I went to get it and I couldn't find it. So when they came back, I said to Taylor, I can't believe you did this. I really can't believe you did this to us. And she just looked at me, and I said, get your stuff and get out. It was $900, American money. And so I didn't go downstairs while they were packing. I just went in our bedroom, but my husband asked her what they did with it. And she said it was drugs.
So Dustin, at a young age, I think it was 18, maybe around 18, he started getting into like hard drugs, like whether it was cocaine or smoking pot or steroids. And there was a point, I think I was 16, I found steroids in his room. And I was like, what the? And I brought it to my parents and they were like, they lost it. The amount of steroids he was doing and like the amount of working out he was doing was making him into somebody that, if you look at a picture of Dustin when he was young, he was long-haired, glasses, nerdy kid. You look at a picture of him 18, 19, he looks like a stripper. He's got a chest out to here and he's walking around like this. He's huge. And when he got into that physique, I think one of his friends was a stripper, and he was probably like 18, 19. He started traveling around making money stripping, and the drugs never stopped. And then he got into, with Taylor, he got into doing a lot of hallucinogenics and moving into crystal meth.
I guess as I got older, I got filled in a lot more on what was going on, because maybe like my dad, my siblings are also worried about me because I am living in that house as well. So like just telling me, kind of filling me in on what's going on with him. Not trying to portray him as a bad person or anything like that, but just making sure I know that like what's going on with him. So
my dad was never scared of him, but my dad also didn't want to anger my mom. So my mom telling Dustin to leave, and Dustin would freak out on my mom, and my dad would start pushing Dustin to get him out of the house and say, no, like, get out of her face, you're gone, I need you out of here. And Dustin would push back, and then my mom would start crying and say, like, don't fight. My dad was like, I'm not trying to fight him, I'm trying to get him out of here because he's yelling at you. And like police would come and just tell him to leave for the night. But because my mom loved her kids so much, like all of us, anytime somebody was being kicked out of the house for, you know, whatever you did or telling you to go to your room or whatever, if the other parent didn't like it, they were trying to not hurt each other. So it was like so back and forth.
Dustin and Taylor's families both felt the relationship wasn't working. Together, they were like oil and water. By 2018, they had been together for 5 years and often lied to their families about their relationship status.
Yeah, actually his mom and I were having conversations about how we both felt the relationship was quite toxic and they needed to get away from each other. So we were trying to work up a plan for how we were going to do that. I knew that he and she were going down a path that, I mean, I could see it all over Dustin, which is why we didn't want her with him.
That July, Taylor had just moved into a new place.
Her apartment was so hot. It was a hot here, you know, outside too.
On July 25th, 2018, Taylor's grandmother got her a fan and a new phone. She said Dustin had taken the old phone the night before.
Being the good grandma, I wasn't giving her the money. We dropped her off. And I didn't hug her because I was still upset at her because she's, you know, I thought the same thing. It's going to be the same way again. And we talked a little bit about getting more education, and she said, oh, I got it all under control.
That night, Taylor texted back and forth with her grandmother.
I dropped her off at about 4 o'clock then, and by the time I got home, there was about 4 texts there from her, you know, saying different little things that's the way she was.
But by the next day, Taylor stopped responding.
No answer. And I said, what, did you lose the phone already, or something like that? Still not thinking there was anything serious. Like I said, I thought she'd maybe gone to a girlfriend's or something.
My mom started texting me saying that she was really worried about Taylor, that they had gone over there for dinner, and that now she wasn't answering her text messages, and she just disappeared. So then I started trying to get a hold of Taylor. She wasn't getting back to me.
Days went by and there was no word from Taylor. Her grandmother decided to call police.
And I said that she'd been As far as I was concerned, she was missing for 5 days, and I was just really concerned. And he said that he had knocked on the door, and then he sort of listened to see if there was a TV on or something, and there was nothing.
Coming up on Crime Beat, a single call to 911 was about to leave the families of Alan, Sean, and Taylor shattered.
I do have a weapon on me.
What do you have on you?
A knife.
A shocking call to 911 provides unexpected insight into Taylor's disappearance. We now return to Nancy Hixt with Shattered by a Call.
Back across town in Hidden Valley, Taylor's boyfriend Dustin, who was Alan Sean's oldest son, was living in his parents' basement. His mom, Sean Boshuk, was still trying to get Dustin help for his drug use and sent Taylor's grandmother a message on July 30th, 2018.
She texted me that, you know, they were concerned about missing. And so I wrote back to her and I said that I was concerned too, and I've just put in a missing person. And she wrote back, "Oh no, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to Dustin. He's going to be so upset."
By July 31st, 2018, nearly 6 days had passed since anyone had heard from Taylor. That morning, a call came into 911 that would shatter 2 families.
Calgary Police, what is the address of your emergency?
Oh, it is 2000 Apple Village Court.
That was Taylor's new address. A warning, details you're about to hear are disturbing. These are excerpts from the call.
Thank you. And your last name?
My last name is Duffy.
And first name?
Dustin.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, tell me exactly what happened, Dustin.
I murdered my girlfriend in this apartment last week, and I murdered my parents this morning.
Any weapons involved or mentioned there?
I do have a weapon on me.
What do you have on you?
A knife.
Where did this happen this morning?
This morning, it happened at 10130 Hidden Valley Drive, Northwest.
What happened this morning?
Morning? To be quite honest, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know why I did it. But I did.
And what did you do?
I killed both of my parents.
Do you need an ambulance for yourself? Do you have any injuries?
Me? I don't have any injuries, no.
So what happened there this morning?
I stabbed both of my parents to death.
Okay, I want you to keep me on the line, and when police come by, I want you to not have anything in your hands, okay?
Police arrived moments later.
It was 10:30 in the morning, and my boss said, you know, we have a triple homicide. We didn't know what was going on. We just have somebody calling in saying that they've killed 3 people.
This type of 911 call is highly unusual.
I've never heard of it. I've never had that.
When police entered Taylor's apartment, they immediately knew something bad had happened.
It had been several days, and it was very hot at that time. It was July, obviously, and there was a female that was lying naked in a bed. It almost looked like she was kind of tucked in, and when they pulled back the sheet, it was a deceased female that had a stab wound across her neck.
Across town, police also checked Duthie's parents' home.
When first responders entered into the Hidden Valley house, there was a female that was deceased with stab wounds in the kitchen. Her body had been dragged from the kitchen into the living room. There was a plastic, it almost looked like a shower curtain covering her. In the main floor bathroom was a male that was deceased. He was just in his underwear. And there was significant amount of blood all the way from the stairs, the landing into the bathroom. Also in the bathroom with its owner was the family dog who was stabbed. And he was just laying on the male that was in the bathroom. In the garage, there was a vehicle that had another dog that was slashed in the neck. And there was another dog that was upstairs in a room that hadn't been harmed. There was blood all over the house. So there was a significant struggle. The male had been stabbed, I believe, 8 times. The female had been stabbed 5 times.
Dustin Duthie was put into the back of a police vehicle to be taken to Calgary Police Headquarters.
If you could even begin to understand the last week of my life, okay.
The officer read Duthie his rights, but Duthie kept talking.
And you may be charged with triple homicide.
I'm going to be charged with triple homicide. You guys already got more than enough evidence.
He told him that he's had a rough week. He's killed 3 people. He doesn't know why he did it. He didn't mean to. And then he just got a bit belligerent. In the backseat of the car, he wanted a cigarette.
No, like all I asked for was a goddamn smoke.
He wanted all these things. At one point, he had even said, it sounded like he was going to do suicide by cop is what he wanted. But that didn't happen.
On July 31st, 2018, Darren Smith was a detective with the Calgary Police Homicide Unit. He was asked to notify the families of all 3 victims.
Really, if there's anything that we can do to not traumatize them further, like I've already destroyed their life by telling them that their loved ones are dead. If there's some other pain that I can take away from them or make it a little bit easier for them, I will.
I saw a missed call from my mom and another call from my ex-husband, and I knew that something bad was happening. So it was actually my ex-husband who told me. And then right after that, Darren Smith phoned me. I was shocked. I was very unbelievable, and especially to know what he did with his parents as well too. That was, I didn't like Dustin. I didn't, but I would have never expected that.
Taylor's grandmother was heartbroken to learn why her granddaughter never returned her messages.
I really never thought it was that bad. I really didn't. When I laid down for bed that night, then that was when it all kind of hit, that this was really true.
Adam Penny Legion was the first to find out about his parents' death from a police officer who went to his home.
And he knocks on the door, so I go and answer it, and he goes, "Can you step outside?" And I go outside, and I close the door, and he goes, "Do you know Dustin Duthie?" So I look him in the eye, I'm like, "Yeah, what did he do now?" That was my exact words, and he goes, "So we have," what did he say? We have an idea that he has done something really bad. And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Your parents live at 10130 Hidden Valley Drive." And I said, "Yeah, like, what's going on?" And he goes, "We have 2 bodies inside that house. We can't confirm that it's your parents, but we're pretty sure that it is." And I broke down. I couldn't help but fall to my knees and cry. And then they asked, "Do you know where your little brother is?" And I got up, like instantly. I stopped crying. I was like, "No, he was supposed to be home." And they go, "Okay, we have Dustin in custody, but we have no idea where your little brother is. Can you call him?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I run back inside and I grab the paper, I take Jordan's number, I call him, and he doesn't answer, and I'm losing it. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. I'm crying and running around my house. I call him again. I'm pretty sure he picked up on the second call, and I go, "Where are you?" And he goes, I'm at Costco. And I was like, where were you last night? And he goes, I was at a friend's house. I was like, okay, stay where you are. I'm gonna come pick you up. We show up at Costco and I gotta get out and call my little brother over to a police car. So Jordan gets in the back of the cop car and I look him dead in the eye and I go, look man, like this is gonna hit a whole lot different than anything's hit ever. And he was like, what's going on? And I said, the police have a suspicion that Dustin has killed our parents. Jordan's crying, I'm trying to console him, but all I keep hearing Jordan saying is it could be somebody else.
The reality of it, almost just like being, like connecting and being like, this is actually real, was the hardest part, I guess, is like, yeah, we knew Dustin and we knew what he did and like the stuff he was into, but obviously even with like him fighting his brothers and stuff like that, no one thought like this is what he would do.
Coming up, this appeared to be an open and shut case, but it's not so simple. That's coming up. As police try to unravel a motive, surveillance footage gives an eerie window into the triple murder. We now return to Nancy Hixt with Shattered by a Call.
We didn't really have the answer as to the why. There never really is a why, like there's no good explanation, but he didn't share that with us in the interview. So we did several search warrants. We did search warrants for for the house, for the apartment, for the phones, for absolutely everything we could to try and get evidence.
Dustin Duthie was evaluated right at the time of his arrest, both in a clinical setting and also in a forensic setting, to make sure that he was fit. From those initial assessments, it became clear that he had some paranoia from his ingestion of crystal meth. When he was assessed for criminal responsibility by Dr. Metalista, he was found to be criminally responsible. The 911 call shows he's totally coherent, he's answering questions, he's orientated to time and place, and he clearly knows it's wrong what he's done because he's teary-eyed confessing to 911. So timeline for a crime is always really important, particularly when we don't have witnesses to the crime. In Taylor's situation, we had an excellent opportunity because she was in contact with her grandmother, so we had that electronic communications that they were having at the time. The other thing is she had just moved into a condominium apartment style that had a CCTV camera right outside of her door. So it was motion censored in that when there'd be any kind of movement going in and out of the apartment, it would turn itself on and start recording. Record 5 to 10 seconds prior to, and then after the movement had stopped, it continued to process or record for 10 to 15 seconds, and then it would turn itself off. Police reviewing it really had a very solid timeline. It was indisputable as to Taylor's comings and goings, and also the comings and goings of Dustin Duthie. So on July 25th, you see early in the morning on the 25th, Taylor was coming in crying. It corresponded with some texts that she'd been sending to someone else, saying that her and Dustin had just gotten into a fight and that he'd pulled a knife on her. But the rest of the 25th, we see the couple walking down the hallway hand in hand, coming back as if there's no problems. In other words, they've made up. And we see that sort of reflected from some of the electronic communications that Taylor is sending in and out as well. Then on the 25th, moving into the 26th, we still see the couple coming and going. The key time comes where we last see Taylor Toller on CCTV around 4 a.m. She's keying into her apartment. Dustin Duthie is with her. There's again no issues. But shortly after 5 a.m. on July 26th, Duthie is seen leaving. He takes the time, he pats himself down, he finds the keys. He looks around the hallway, he locks the door, and he walks down the hallway. What he's carrying with him is what's been called a bed in a box. So not much different than what you would have for camping or if you're using it in your home for guests. And he's dragging that along with him because it's got a little bit of a wheel system and it's got a handle with it. And days later, after Sean and Alan are murdered, that bed in the box is found in the trunk of his car that's still at Hidden Valley. Inside that box is a towel that had Taylor Toller's blood on it. So looking back now, there's a sort of looking back in time, you're going, okay, he was taking the bloody towel away. So that's the 26th. The 26th, there's not a lot of footprints for, there's no footprints for Taylor, obviously. People are trying to get a hold of her, including her grandmother Joan, and they're not getting really any kind of a response.
Police also retraced Duthie's steps over nearly 6 days from when Taylor Toller was killed to when he called 911.
Fairly normal, as I say, sort of fairly normal levels of communication. There'd been some plans for him to start work, but he doesn't go to the job site. But there is sort of that discussion. There's some discussion from Sean's standpoint that he needs to go into treatment, go into a residential treatment program for his drug use.
How does he react to that?
He is balking at it, I think is probably the fairest way to characterize it, but is not certainly looking to do it. So on the 31st, the Crown's theory is that Sean Boschuk is killed early in the morning. She is having an ongoing text communication with a former co-worker, and all of a sudden she stops responding in the conversation around 5:53 in the morning. The other sort of family routine in the morning suggests that it was an early morning attack on Sean Boschuk. It happened in the kitchen. Chairs were knocked over. There was some blood spatter on the Venetian blinds or blinds in the kitchen. That suggests that it was right by the back door for Sean's attack. At some point in time, either Al Penny Legion comes down the stairs and witnesses the murder itself, or he witnesses Duthie trying to clean up the murder. And once he comes down the stairs, then Al Penny Legion is chased and attacked in several different locations as well. He had suffered some pretty significant injuries, internal injuries to his heart, so it likely would have been fatal. He probably would have died on the landing and then would have been dragged down and left in the bathroom, because the bathroom is not an active bleeding site. We're not seeing any attack in the bathroom. So from the forensic standpoint, there doesn't seem to be a commingling of these scenes, and yet they're close to one another.
So what does that say?
It says we got two distinctive attacks. Duthie showers, he changes his clothes, he shaves his head. He takes Al Penny Legion's car. He's also taken the contents from Sean Boschuk's purse. He drives back towards Taylor Toller's condominium across Calgary, across town, buys liquor, has a conversation with the man at the Alberta Liquor Depot store, makes his selection of booze, goes to the lobby now of where Taylor Toller lives. He can't get in because he's got the key for the condo, but doesn't have a swipe card to get through the man door. And at that reason, for whatever reason, he now calls 911.
Dustin Duthie was originally charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder. But the prosecution said forensic evidence showed Alan Penny Legion's death was first-degree murder.
So we had 2 pathways in law. One was planning and deliberation. And planning, it doesn't have to be a sophisticated plan, it just has to be one that there does show to be a plan. And then deliberation, that someone was cautious and it wasn't impulsive. We looked at Alan Penny Legion always as a witness to Sean Boschuk's either murder or cleanup. The second pathway to get there in law is there's criminal code provisions that if you kill a justice participant, who's also described in the criminal code as a potential witness, that is also triggers first-degree murder as well. So there was 2 pathways in law for Dustin Duthie to go down on the first-degree murder of Alan Penny Legion because of the blood evidence and what that was telling the officers, what that could tell a court of law.
Following a preliminary inquiry, Dustin Duthie was ordered to stand trial for 2 counts of second-degree murder in the deaths of his girlfriend and his mother, and 1 count of first-degree murder in the death of his father.
After the break,
That sure makes you wonder what the hell is in it. Well, it is.
an unexpected piece of evidence adds yet another twist to the triple murder investigation. Would there be justice for Alan, Sean, and Taylor? Here's Nancy Hixt with the conclusion of Shattered by a Call.
The deaths of Al Penny Legion and Sean Boshuk left Alexis, David, Adam, and Jordan without parents. Just weeks after their deaths, Adam and his brother got their dad's vehicle back from police. The same car that their brother drove to Taylor's apartment after he killed their parents.
So we started unpacking the trunk, and there were suitcases and clothes and wallets and credit cards and all this kind of just, random stuff. And Sheila, one of my mom's best friends, was like, we should record this in case. And I can't remember what clicked in her mind to say that, but she started recording.
That sure makes you wonder what the hell is in it. Well, it is.
And we pulled out a black, almost baseball-sized, tape ball. It was all electrical tape.
Just don't lose any of those pieces. You might need it to place it together.
I can't remember if it was me or David, but we peeled a piece back, and there was a piece of paper on it. And we just continued unraveling it, and continually there was little shreds of paper. And I can't remember how many pieces I said. I think it was 200 some odd pieces.
Oh, it's Dustin's writing.
It's like a confession.
Adam and David both said that's his handwriting. And through our search warrants, we had other notes of his and handwriting kind of samples of his, and it was the same.
The letter was given to a tenacious forensic investigator who pieced it back together like a puzzle.
I don't know how he did it. Because it's not like you've got the box to see what the picture is at the end of the day. And there's a couple chunks of the paper it's missing. It's also multiple pages. So this is where the task gets a little harder. It is a note written by Dustin Duthie. That part is clear. From the tense that he uses in his note, the content, it's written after he kills Taylor Toller. So it's not a pre-planning note. But one of the things he says, along with others, is he wanted to feel what it was like with cold steel through human flesh. When he decided to have that desire is not clear from the note. Whether it was an impulsive feeling, whether it's him looking back at killing Taylor Toller and putting that spin on it, only Dustin Duthie will know. But that's what made it more complicated, because that note could cut either way as to whether he had planned and deliberated the killing of Taylor Toller.
In March of 2021, just days before Dustin Duthie was scheduled to stand trial, he pleaded guilty to all 3 charges.
Thank goodness we were spared that.
Yeah, I got tremors in my body, and I almost felt like I wanted to cry at first when I saw him, but I couldn't, and I was just shaking, and it was like I wanted to cry, but I wanted to jump over the railing and go at him, but I wanted to, it was just a bunch of mixed emotions. But then at the same time, it was over and done with at that point. We're sitting there knowing that he's going to go away for 35 plus years. You don't expect, especially someone in your family, you don't expect them to be capable of something like that, or even think of doing something like that, whether they're capable of it or not.
You took away in my life personally, or our family's life, 2 people who were the best people you could ever imagine. And I'm sure everybody says that about their parents, but like 2 people who would have done anything for you at any age, didn't care what you've done wrong, would have kept striving for you to do better, pushing you to do more. And he took that away from us, and then he takes away the person that is pushing him to keep going in some way, takes her away from her family. Nobody wants anything to do with him. He took away 3 amazing people.
Duthie was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 35 years. Taylor's mother often thinks about the path that led to her death.
I don't want him to blame Dustin for it all, because, I mean, Taylor was attracted to him, and I can see why. It was exciting. He was a bad boy. I mean, I went through a lot of that when I was younger too. But yeah, it was her heart. She had a very, very big heart. She was incredibly sweet, and she had a smile. I mean, you'll see in the pictures, the girl could not take a bad picture. She just had that light. She was an incredibly sweet soul.
Taylor's grandmother was her biggest advocate and misses her every day.
Her smile was a big thing. Just so happy. You know, nothing seemed to get her down.
When Dustin Duthie killed his parents, his siblings became orphans.
I am extremely independent and strong compared to what I was before. I think it's because I had them to rely on, but now not having them to rely on, they're always in my back pocket pushing me to do better. And I always look at it in that way, that they're still here with me, talking to me and telling me how I can be better, you know, days that I want to go home from work because I'm just not into it. Something clicks and goes, just finish, man. You got 3 hours left in your day. What's the point in going home? You know, the same reason like when I would come home from school early and my dad would be like, why? You had 2 hours left. Why didn't you just finish your class? It's the same voice. They'll never leave our lives.
Jordan has had to grow up fast. He was only 17 when his parents were killed.
I feel like the biggest part is just like when stuff goes wrong or when something's going on, it's just like those are the people you go to, those are the people you want to talk to. So I feel like just being at the point, even especially with football or decisions that I want to make, like do I want to go to this team, do I want to do this, what do I want to do, like stuff that I would ask my dad. Just it's the simple things, like the easy stuff, like even what do I want to make, like how do I make this meal, or how do I do this, just like the easy small things that are little decisions that you wouldn't think like you would want to ask someone until like they're not there, and you think about like even thinking about a meal that you had a year ago and you want to know how to make it, or a decision on going to this team or going to this team, or do I want to take this course in school, or do I want to do this, just like that older figure that kind of has that knowledge and that path for you, I feel like is the biggest part that I miss.
After Jordan was told his parents were killed, he sent a final farewell to his father in a series of text messages. He said, "I love you more than anything, and I'm going to do everything I can to make you smile up there. I know you're up there reading this, and just know I'm going to make you really proud. I love you, Dad."
Dustin Duthie will be about 60 years old before he's eligible to apply for parole. Both of the victims' families are left shattered by the senseless actions of a man they were trying to help. Taylor's mother has created a permanent endowment fund in her honor. A portion of the proceeds are donated to charity in support of domestic violence, mental health, and addiction. I'm Anthony Robart. Thank you for joining us tonight on Crime Beat.
To learn more about this case, subscribe and listen to my Crime Beat podcast now for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And for previous episodes of Crime Beat TV, check out our YouTube page or download the Global Go app to watch on your phone.